And what I mean by layman's terms in that is the agape is an acronym, AGAP, meaning all gaps eliminated. So that means when God says, I love you, I have put in the equation your failures, your flaws, your shortcomings, your hiccups, your hangups, your wait a minutes, Lord. He put all of that in the equation when he dispersed his love to you. And when that spiritual divine connection through a born again type of interaction takes place, that's when you begin to see the realness of God pump the realness of you into fruition. It's a spiritual conveyor belt of change that we have to be willing to get on, just like a car is being built, right?
Hi, I'm Helen Blocker Adams, host of Reset to Reinvent podcast.
And I'm Vanessa, CEO of Talent Connect.
We have connected our talent as women entrepreneurs, and I am pleased to announce Talent Connect as a founding sponsor for our popular podcast.
For any of your staffing, payroll, or other business services needs, be sure to check out our website at talentconnectga.net. That's talentconnectga.net.
And don't forget to subscribe to our popular YouTube channel, Reset to Reinvent YouTube channel. Yes, he's coming. He's coming to the home of James Brown. Yes, he is. David Shands, also known as the king of podcasting, is coming to the AUG, and you want to be there. Not only is he coming, he is bringing Donnie Wiggins with him. Check out Social Proof Podcasts. Oh, you've seen them. Yes, you have. And they're going to be right here in Augusta, Georgia. When Thursday, April 23rd, 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. It's a free event. You need to go ahead and scan this QR code. Get your seat registered right now. Limited VIP tickets are available, and limited vendor and sponsorships are available as well. Oh my goodness. We're so excited. We are so excited about having David Shands here in Augusta, Georgia, the home of James Brown. So you want to be there? It's a free event. We'll see you there. Hello, and welcome to episode 53 of Reset to Reinvent podcast. I am your host, Helen Blocker Adams, and really excited about today's episode. And certainly if you heard last week's episode, if you didn't, you've got to go back and listen to it. Make sure that you download, make sure you subscribe, make sure that you like these episodes and see what happens when you like it on any of the podcast platforms. Then you're going to get the notification every Monday when the episodes come out. So you don't have to try to remember if you've missed an episode, you're going to know. Okay. So when you like or subscribe. And so I want to let you know and remind you that this is a month of March. It is also my anniversary month. This is our first full year on the air. 53 episodes straight. No repeats, no anything like that. All of them brand new episodes every week, every Monday. So that's really exciting. Also want to let you know that with this being the month of March, it's Women's History Month. And I want to share with you the theme, and I know my guest is going to love this. The theme for 2026 for Women's History Month is Leading the Change, Women Shaping a Sustainable Future. And then there's 4 different subtitles. One of them is financial sustainability, community resilience, leadership succession, and intergenerational equity. So that is the theme for the month of March for Women's History Month. And so that's really exciting stuff. And we've got more things that we're going to be talking about between now and the end of the month. So before we go a little bit further, I want to introduce to you our guest for today. This is a woman who, when you hear her voice, you're gonna know, man, she commands a room. She walks into a room. She has her voice is just so eloquent. And sometimes okay, let me just say this. Okay, her name is Christine Harrison, and I'm gonna have her share anything that she wants us to know. So Christine, before I go further, because I was going to say something else, and that would have kind of messed up something in my head. Christine, welcome to Reset to Reinvent podcast.
Miss Helen Blocker Adams, thank you. Thank you. And before we go any further, I just want to salute you openly on this platform. Our history goes back. And in doing so, have seen you be the trailblazer, the pioneer, the reinvention of the wheel in certain instances, and even living up to your last name of being a blocker. You have blocked a lot of things for other women, such as myself, to be able to walk through. So I would like to personally give you your verbal flowers and thank you for allowing me to be on today and just to share something briefly during our time of interaction on this podcast. Thank you.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Christine. And I had a feeling you were going to mention the fact that we've known each other for a long, and
Right.
that's why I had to stop. And we do, Christine and I have known each other. And then the thing that's so uh, I don't know, weird or ironic is that we haven't seen each other in person in what, 10, 15 years?
Literally almost 10, 15 years. Yes, ma'am. If not longer. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Yeah. And because you're living in North Carolina now.
No, no, no. I'm in Chattanooga. I have
Chattanooga.
roots that my parents are originally from North
Chattanooga, North
Carolina, but I live in
Carolina.
Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Yes, ma'am.
I've never been there. I've been to Memphis
Okay.
and I've been to Nashville,
Okay.
but I've never been to Chattanooga. Okay, so looks like I may have to come to Chattanooga
Please.
sometime.
You're always welcome. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, Christine, you look amazing in those colors. You look amazing. You have a story, you've got several stories, and I'm just going to let you, wherever you want to start, I want you to just tell us who Christine Harrison is.
Mm. Well, first and foremost, I am uh, not by way of verbiage, but by way of lifestyle that I try to live daily as a daughter of the Most High God, a servant unto His people, and
Mhm.
truly a friend to those who are seeking more out of life than just the commonality of paying a bill, going to work, and creating a general platform. I take great delight in truly being what is called living in the light. And the light is an acronym for living in God's holy truths. And
Mhm.
by me staying in the light, it gives me the right reflection to share the life of Christ through my walk.
Mm. Now, you haven't always been there in this place.
You're coming out the
Um,
gate early, Miss Allen.
you've
Yes,
been
ma'am.
through some stuff,
Yes,
okay?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And so before we go further, when you think about, and you have seen and heard several of my podcasts, so you're familiar with Reset to Reinvent podcast. So what comes to your mind when you think of the name of my podcast, Reset to Reinvent? What does that mean to you?
Redirect to avoid the repeat. That's what I think of when I think of your podcast. The redirect, meaning that when God becomes the anchor, which is our foundation, and becomes the navigator through the unction of the Holy Spirit, leading and guiding us according to his plan for our life, then what it does is it properly pulls back the curtain and it shows who we were always supposed to be. And the curtain is the debris or the heartaches, the hurdles, the obstacles, whatever those things may have entailed that prevented the real you from shining through, if I can say it like that.
Mm. Redirect to avoid the repeat.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, that's easier said than done.
Yes, ma'am.
I had a guest on my guest from last week's episode, and she talked a lot about second chances. And as a matter of fact, she reminded me that the month of April is Second Chance Month.
Mm,
And so that's someone, whether they've been incarcerated, that's what they're pretty much talking about, reentry, being incarcerated and giving people a second chance. And of course, when it comes to second chances, it doesn't necessarily mean someone who's been incarcerated. So when we talk about repeat and second chances, some of us, we do the same thing over and over and over again, or they may make a mistake and then they end up fixing it, but then another mistake happens. So um sometimes it could be a vicious cycle. So how do you reconcile that part of it when we think about reset and reinventing ourselves? Someone who just keeps bumping their head against the wall, and it's like, didn't I tell you?
right, right. I can only speak for me. Uh,
Okay.
and having the track record, if you will, of being labeled as a hellion, being labeled as someone that couldn't figure out how to walk it out right, someone who was literally written off like a tax return, of being labeled by society measures, if you will, of being dysfunctional, not capable, not adequate, not enough, lacking and slacking in every area. It got to the point where I had to come to the end of myself. And in doing so, I had to get real with God. I grew up in church. Even though I came from the projects in New Jersey, I have no shame in coming from the projects because it gave me real street credit. And I truly contribute that to a portion of my ability to bounce back. Because when you came from little to nothing, um, going down to a low place doesn't have the same impact of somebody who was born with everything and then it got snatched from them. You learn how to survive. You learn how to scrap. You learn how to scrape. You learn how to fight. You learn how to do whatever you got to do. Sometimes your decisions wasn't the best ones, but you felt like that's the only option that you had, so you did what you had to do until you was able to get in a place in a position to do what you felt like you wanted to do. And for me, I realized something was lacking and slacking. I was going to church, Miss Helen, but I wasn't growing in God. And,
Mm.
and it came to me literally with a spiritual encounter that did not happen in the traditional four walls of the church. I had a
Mm.
real encounter one on one with God. And in that one on one, it really, truly redirected my life so I could stop repeating the habits that I was doing. And what I started doing was literally taking it one step, one day at a time. Stop trying to do 3, 4, 5, 10 year progressions in advance. And there's nothing wrong with making, solutions, making directions, making projections, even. But the Bible talks about how the steps of a good man, or in my case, a good woman, are ordered by the Lord. So I had to learn how, no matter what I wrote, to take it
Mm.
back to God and ask him, does this line up with your will for my life? And
Mm.
in the event that it didn't, then what do I need to do to stay in sync, in tune, so I'm abiding in your will and not just walking around talking about you, but not learning how to have communion with you, if that makes sense.
Yes, it certainly does. So, how do we get to that point? Because that's some very deliberate, intentional uh, points that you just shared in terms of your that encounter. Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
so everybody might not experience
Right.
an encounter like that. I don't recall ever having an encounter like that. However, can we agree that the encounter is going to be different for everybody?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
Some people may get it in a church setting. Some people may get it as a result of an auto accident. Some people may get it as a result of lying on their bed of affliction, like I once was, and all you could do was look up because your life was flashing and dripping right before your very eyes. So there's multiple ways. There's a plethora of ways that God can become real to an individual, but the question becomes, or is the individual willing to become disciplined in the form of developing themselves as a disciple so God can truly be more than an Amazon delivery driver of dropping off your blessings, but really coming into an intimate place in your life and your walk and truly become living God to you.
I think if the impact of that encounter is hard enough, is strong enough, and we're humble, and a lot of times it will humble because the pride, that pride is definitely of the devil, for sure. And when I think about encounter, and I never really thought about the word encounter was for me 2014 and the mayor's race and how all of
Mm,
that went down with me in the
right.
mayor's for 2014. And I had gotten to a point, Christine, that I didn't realize how far away that I was separating myself from my relationship with God because I was so busy, helping people, being a people, and being a people pleaser, and thinking all of that is the right thing and the good thing. It was a good thing, but it wasn't the right thing in terms of, God is somewhere back there, you know, and a lot of times we can get so caught up in everything that we're doing that we don't even realize how far we have distanced ourselves until something like that happened. And then it's like, oh my goodness. So that was my encounter. And I remember once the dust settled, it was like, okay, God, you know what? I am so sorry. I humbled myself. I pulled myself away from people and media and social media and all of that and communed and got my relationship back right with God. So now we're on the same page. But that was my encounter.
Right. And again, it goes back to what you were just mentioning before about the different lanes, the different ways. When there is, if I can use it, because there's certain words now, and I know what I'm about to share, Miss Helen, you can relate wholeheartedly. There's certain terminology now that has been abused when it comes to identifying your Christendom uh, the sincerity of your walk and the visibility beyond the talk. And what I mean by that is everybody loves to talk about how God is real, but they're not as quick to talk about how they had to become real for God to be revealed in the realness to them. Here's
Mm,
what I mean. There's a story, excuse me, in the Bible that talks about the conversation Peter and Jesus had, where Jesus asked Peter, Peter, do you love me?
mm,
And Peter was like, yes, Lord, I love you. He asked him again. He said, yes, Lord, I love you. And he asked him one more time. And when Peter became real with his analysis of the relationship, that it was a filion type of love for Jesus, not the agape that Jesus had for Peter. That's when Peter was able to truly begin the transformation of being used as a mouthpiece, as an oracle of God, as a living epistle that Jesus could take delight in using for his glory. It is the same thing with you and I, Miss Helen. We could spend almost a 24-hour nonstop dialogue talking about the different ways and things that have happened over our life that led
yeah,
us to where we're sitting right here. And
yeah,
all of it is not beautiful beam footage. However, the realness of it is it took all of that. That's why I'm so grateful that God loves us in the agape, even when we was loving him as a spy.
Mm,
Okay. And what I mean by layman's terms in that is the agape is an acronym, AGAPE, meaning all gaps eliminated. So that means when God says, I love you, I have put in the equation your failures, your flaws, your shortcomings, your hiccups, your hangups, your wait a minutes, Lord. He put all of that in the equation when he dispersed his love to you. And when that spiritual divine connection through a born again type of interaction takes place, that's when you begin to see the realness of God pump the realness of you into fruition.
mm,
It's a spiritual conveyor belt of change that we have to be willing to get on, just like a car is being built, right? And so, in that vehicle being built, that somebody's going to put on the steering wheel, somebody's going to put on the tires, somebody's going to put the bolts to put the door on, somebody's going to do the final polishing. In that spiritual conveyor belt of change, when we get real with God, He already has the assembly crew
right.
in your life that knows how to help you become the running machine that will bring him a greater glory in the earth to a cold, dark world of those who want God, but they have to be willing to ask themselves, am I willing to pay the cost to follow him?
Right. Wow. Boy, this is a Bible study tonight. Let me tell you. So, Christine, I
Yes,
mean,
ma'am.
you have definitely said a mouthful, and the bottom line is that encounter that you were talking about, and how we all have gone through some stuff, and
Mm.
when we talk about the reset to reinvent and redirecting to avoid the repeat, and the fact that a lot of times we will repeat and stumble multiple times, but the fact that we have the capacity to get back up, but we have to humble ourselves, and we have to realize, okay, you know what, I I need to get myself together. And
Mm.
sometimes we have to be hit over the head, if you will,
Mm.
or traumatized, or encountered multiple times in order for us to get right. But then, we're still not right, but as right as we could possibly be, because we are human, and more, we're human, and we're going to continue to make the mistakes and that sort of thing. But but in your case, when you said that you earlier, you were, written off, dysfunction, the lack, why did people, feel that way about Christine? What was going on to make them even think that of my friend?
Because I had displaced anger. There were things that happened early on in my life that I did not know how to channel that energy into a positive direction. Um, the outlets and the opportunities that I had didn't prove what seems like at the time, didn't prove to seem like healthy directions or healthy investments, if you will, that would help me to get pulled out of those pits that I found myself in. And for a long time, I was angry. I was angry. But here's the caveat to that, Miss Helen. I had started speaking ministry wise before I became a teenager. So imagine the youthfulness of the mind, the lack of maturity, but I'm preaching Calvary based, teachings, teaching Sunday school, doing youth conferences, when I was living in North Carolina at the time, and to have a speaking engagement on Saturday, excuse me, and by Tuesday I would be in a fight because that seed got plucked up before it got rooted. And because even though I was speaking what I was being given by the Lord, and again, this is not the finger point. So let me put that disclaimer out. When you don't have the right type of nurturing in an arena that is not often visited, you have people that are marveled by what you say, but don't know how to steer in the direction you should go. So as a
Mm.
result, I was growing, but I was growing wayward and not upward. So as things and situation transpired, and because the enemy's number one job is to discredit and to assassinate our character and our integrity, I was having a twofold type of reputation. Yes, she could talk. Oh my goodness, to hear her speak. But then it was like, I don't know what's wrong with Christine because she's this anger box, and the least little thing she turns into Yosemite Sam and a Tasmanian devil. So because there was an unbalance going on in my life, I didn't know how to steer it. And when my vernacular wasn't at the level of what I was delivering, I didn't know how to properly cry out for help.
So what happened? What did you do?
I went through hitting my head up against brick walls. I went through extreme suicidal seasons. I went through being a profuse alcoholic. I went through smoking all kinds of things, laced with things. Um, and on top of all of that, I was still trying to find God. I was going to church. I was on the praise team. I was on the hospitality team. I was on the intercessory team.
Mm.
I was a part of the greeters ministry, and I was empty. I was absolutely empty, slowly dying from the pew because even though it was great word being preached, I wasn't hearing what I needed to hear to
Mm.
connect with that word to come out from among them or from among it. And so, on top of all of that, I'm still hearing God's voice and I'm trying to prove him wrong because there's no way in the world you could want to use me when I already feel like I'm used up.
Mm. Mm.
And
Mm.
so, one of the greatest things that he told me early on was take that energy of you constantly trying to prove people wrong and begin to prove me right. You know what I told you. You know what I've shared with you. You know what I revealed to you, Christine. And it has taken literally a 25-year journey because those encounters began in 2001, Miss Helen. And it has
Mm.
taken a 25-year plus journey for me to come full circle and to be in a place in a space where now I can articulate where I've been and to also stand flat footed to know where I'm going. And that's to a greater place and space in Him.
Wow. Wow. And you mentioned 25 years, and I mentioned you well, before we got started that this is episode 53, and there's a significance of the number 53.
Yes, ma'am. I actually just turned 53 this past October um, 20th. And truly, this year was by far the most remarkable birthday that I have experienced as a result of 2024 being rushed to the hospital. And then within hours, being diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer.
Oh,
So,
and that is okay. So we are going to talk about that.
yes, ma'am.
Um, so, but prior to the diagnosis,
Mhm.
prior to that, you had gotten to a point where you were no longer behind a mask. And it's interesting that we're talking about mask is because my guest from last week's episode, she lived kind of like a double life,
Mm,
and she was, this for this group, and then she was doing other things that were against the law, and she, was incarcerated
wow.
uh, for 10 years, federal prison. and now she's doing ministry work and all of that. I'm going to get you two together, because it was just a powerful. You're going to have to listen and watch episode 52 for
Okay.
sure.
Yes, ma'am.
But so you had gotten to a point where, okay, yep, God, I got you. I'm with you. We're on the same page here, and I'm going to work for you and not the world. And because prior to that, it was a combination, which most of us do. We're in the world, and they would say, "What, you're in the world, but not of the world, or of the world, or not, yeah, not in the world." But what was it? I know you said you had an encounter,
Yes, ma'am.
but was the encounter the epiphany, the realization that, you know what, I can't keep going down the drinking and all of those destructive things, the suicide? Was it the encounter that happened after all of that that got you on the path of where you are now?
Yes and no. Yes and
Okay.
no. The encounter happened in 2001, and I
Oh,
call that the breaking of the fallow ground, if you will. But the life-changing pivotal moment happened 2 years later in 2003. In
okay.
2003, um, and as a matter of fact, if I'm remembering correctly, Miss Helen, it happened in the month of March.
Mm,
So in March of 2003, I got into a very, very bad car accident. It was a
mm,
4-car pileup, but I was the only one that got injured. I was the third vehicle. Just sporadically out of the blue, the first vehicle slammed on brakes. The second vehicle was a pickup truck. They slammed on brakes. I was the third vehicle. I slammed on brakes, but the person that was the fourth vehicle was not paying attention. And
mm.
I'm looking in my rear view and I'm tensing my body up because I'm screaming that she's going to hit me. She's going to
Yeah.
hit me. She's going to hit me. And sure enough, she did. The police
Mm,
report indicated that she was traveling over 70 miles per hour when she slammed into the back of me. And it
mm,
pushed my car with such a force that it pushed it halfway up under the truck. The hood of my vehicle rolled back
mm,
like a can of sardines, no exaggeration. And
mm.
I literally went into shock. I'm streaming down tears, but I could not speak. But I'm hearing them say, if we don't get her out of that car because it's still running, it's going to explode because of how it's sitting up under the truck. Because
Yes.
it lifted the truck up because the
Mm,
impact was so hard. And
mm.
I'm screaming, God, mind you, nobody can hear this because I'm not able to talk. My body went into shock. But I'm screaming to God, please don't let me die like this. Please don't let this be the end of my road and how I go out.
Mm.
And so I got rushed to the hospital and they put up the x rays. And I'm seeing all these white dots on the x ray. And I mean, it literally looked like a map with all metropolitan major cities. And I'm asking the doctor, what is this that I'm looking at? He said, these are all the tears that are in your back because literally I tensed up. So the
Mm. Yeah.
impact was so strong that it caused all these many tears in my back. And
Mm.
they said we could do exploratory surgery where they literally was going to be willing to pop my back open and try to mend every single tear. The catch 22 to that because of how the tears were structured. If they would have sneezed, if there would have been a flinch in the hand, I ran the risk of having paralysis.
Mm.
And so I said, well, what are the other options? They say you could live in chronic pain for the rest of your life.
Mm.
And you could be walking around with a bag of medicine under a chiropractic care if your insurance will even pick it up. Because back then, you talking about the early 2000s, chiropractic
Mm.
care wasn't as visible or acceptable as it is now. They was considered not even real physicians
True.
before laws eventually passed. So I'm laying in that hospital bed and I cry out to God. And I'm
Mm,
like, okay, God, you got my attention. If
mm,
you heal me from this, as your word says that you are a healer, whatever you want me to do, I'm willing to do it. Miss Helen, I sit on this couch and I talk to you with no chronic pain in my back. I had no surgery. I don't go to a chiropractor. I don't take any medicine for my back.
mm,
I know God is a healer because of what he has done for me. And this is the reason why I worship him the way that I do. This is the reason why I talk about him the way that I do. This is
mm,
the reason why I live for him the way that I do, because he truly is REAL, and that's regarding everything about life. He is real to me. And
mm.
and God is going to be real regardless. Let me put this disclaimer.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
he's only going to be as real as you allow him to come into your life.
Him to be in our
Yes,
life.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
That's right. And so the idea of suicide and all of those things, he recovered you from that,
Yes, ma'am.
and which makes him real. And then the
Absolutely.
devastating car accident, and once again, he's real.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm sure there's other things on in between, but then the diagnosis you said in 2024
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
and pancreatic cancer,
Yes.
stage 4.
Stage 4.
Now, prior to that, did you have any evidence of being sick, pain? How did you even find out that you had
My
pancreatic cancer?
situation is one of those that makes you scratch your head when you think about it, because the first episode transpired in 1996.
1996.
Yes, ma'am. In
Mm,
Nashville, Tennessee. I was living in, this is my second time living in Tennessee, but I was living in Nashville prior. And I had an episode where there was a blood vessel that burst, and I had to have emergency surgery Thanksgiving morning.
mm,
Uh, and so if I wouldn't have been up cooking, the doctor told me I would have bled to death in my sleep. And
mm.
so the thing about it was, due to my weight, because at my largest, I used to weigh 400 pounds. And so it was like a hopper inside of my body. Over the course of almost 30 years, I had been told 5 to 6 different times they think they saw cancer. But for every time that there was tests that was ran, all the way up to what is called a PET scan, and that is considered as the mammoth of testing. And of course, you know firsthand, when it comes to the PET scan, it is them feeling like they really see something there. And I have a
Right.
7-page documentation that showed that they could not find conducive evidence
Mm,
to validate that there was indeed cancer in my body. But I was told over the years that they thought they saw um, liver, gallbladder, cervical, ovarian, GI tract. And each and every time went through the process, never was it able to be determined. But it wasn't until 2022 going into 23 that my body started doing this, literally like a metamorphosis of change almost. I started dropping weight, unexplained, eating patterns fell to the floor, and I just could
mm,
not get myself up. I was sick profusely. I was in the hospital almost as much as I was home. Um, I was going to the hospital with an overnight bag because I already knew they were going to keep me. And each stint was no less than a week at a time.
mm,
I had to end up getting a blood transfusion. I had IVs that were blown. My white blood count went through the roof. My red blood count went to the cellar. My iron, my potassium, my magnesium, all of those plummeted. Um, I blew IVs because of the potassium was literally burning my veins. And so they had to take it out. I had a port put in. The port got infected. Uh,
mm,
I was at death's door. And it was to the point where I literally did the Hezekiah. I turned my face to the wall
Mm,
and I said to the Lord, Father, I can't worship you and declare your glory with my lips glued, my eyes shut, and I'm laying in a cold grave. But if this is your will and this is my time, prepare my heart and make it ready. I began to start writing my obituary because I didn't want to put that grief on anybody else. I began to start making final arrangements, and sharing with my village, if you will, what was going on. I brought my family into the loop. Um, but when I tell you the prayers of the righteous
mm,
availeth much, when I tell you that there were strategic people that literally, as they spoke, I felt the spiritual resuscitation, almost like the shock uh gears when they say clear, but boom.
mm,
As they would pray for me, as they would speak life over me. I had two key individuals, and although they don't know about this podcast, I can't go without mentioning their names, Courtney and Kalinda, who literally rearranged their life and stood as my Caleb and my Jacob and literally held my
mm,
arms up until we saw victory come back to my life and to my body.
mm,
And they were so protective of me. They were my prayer warriors. They were my intercessors, my church family, mm, my kingdom connection. There's too many to name, but when I say they had my name up in the heavens and God heard the cries of the people, and I feel like I am Sonic the Hedgehog now, Miss Helen, as far as running to set the captives free. And the gold rings are every victory that I can help somebody achieve in God, whether it's the testimonies that
mm.
God has allowed me to have for my life, or
Yeah,
standing in agreement that they stand in alignment for God's will for their life, whatever it may take. Talking about the second chances, I have been given a new lease on life.
mm,
God has truly allowed me to see his hand in a way I could have never imagined. And just to take a sidestep, when D'Angelo passed away last year, it hit me different
mm.
because he passed away, the singer, of the same thing I was diagnosed with.
Oh,
And so
great.
it
Mm.
not that I'm identifying with D'Angelo, but I'm just saying how there was no difference between he and I other than God was saying not yet.
Yeah.
And it really, you have those near death, life changing life encounters like that, Ms. Helen. Of course, you can identify. It truly makes you put everything in a new level of priority. The
Mm.
dumb stuff goes in the trash. Those things that are priority, I tell anybody, those things that are important to you, you make time for. Those
Yeah.
things that aren't, you make excuses for. So
Yeah.
I truly try to really be intentional, really be honest, really be true. Let my yay be yay and my nay be nay in anything that I do now. If I can't do it, I can't do it. I am medically retired, but I also know that God has given me a divine touch that medicine could not extend.
Mm,
I
mm,
have gone
mm.
through radiation. I have gone through several rounds of treatment, but I know I sit here, I stand today only because of the grace of God. I take nothing away from the medical team, the medical professionals. I have some phenomenal ones, but I cannot give them credit before I give honor where honor is due. And that is to my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ.
Mm. So, Christine, what does your world entail now? What are you doing in your life
Well,
that I know you're doing things that's impacting people, but for our listeners and our viewers that may want to connect with you, that might want to get involved with what you're doing, what is Christine doing now, coming for full circle?
Yes, ma'am.
as we come to the end of this conversation. Tell
Mhm.
us, what is Christine doing now to continue to make an impact on the world?
Yes, ma'am. So in 2007, ironically in Augusta, Georgia, the Lord allowed me to understand the deeper magnitude of my purpose in the earth, and it's entitled Inspiring Life Ministries. It is a outreach that is designed to truly live up to its name. The foundational scripture that God allowed me to have comes from First Corinthians chapter 9 verses 19 through 23. And it speaks of, to the weak I become the weak, to the Jew I become the Jew. I become all things to all people that I may win some over to the kingdom of God. And that platform looks like through conferences, through workshops, through um, different types of interaction, whether it's one on one, whether it's in the assembly, whether it's through other outreach groups that I am in covenant
Mm,
partnership with. God has allowed me to have a lot of divine connections throughout this country and even internationally, that the expansion is getting ready to take on deeper levels now
mm,
that I'm in a greater position to do more kingdom work for a substantial period of time doing this changing of the guard, if you will, from going to working in corporate America, working in the business sector, to now totally uh, relying on God, moving according to His will and His way. It has now freed me up to do ministry on a more in depth level. And as a result, opportunities are presenting itself for me to connect, both through the secular as well as through kingdom mindset position. So
mm,
I'm very humbled and grateful for God allowing me to come, as you say, full circle, to be in a place in this position, because for a while I did not realize if that would be um, doable, considering the diagnosis and the things that I was having to weather. And so to be able to sit, take care of myself, not need any um, ADA type of hands. And of course, for those that may not be aware, the assisted daily activities, I don't need anyone to cook for me. I don't need anyone to dress me, to bathe me. I don't need anyone to cart me around anywhere. So I'm very grateful, because literally less than 18 months ago,
mm,
I had a hard time walking on my
mm,
own. I was losing so much weight so fast that it threw my equilibrium off, to the point I was walking sideways. And I had to recondition my body to say, hey, this is the newness of where we are. I had to literally command my feet to walk again, because it didn't understand what was going on, because so much was happening so fast. And
mm,
so to be in a place of not only physical peace but spiritual peace in God, to be able to navigate, to be in my right frame of mind, more than a reasonable portion of health and strength. I don't walk around with a huge bag of medicine like many people would consume one to think, given the diagnosis I was given. I take a lot of vitamins. I pray daily. I take communion daily. I stay in that word. That word is my anchor. That word is my rock. That word is my tower where I am safe. And I don't want to try to sound like a over Jesus thriller, if you will. But
mm,
sometimes people need to hear, when you apply him to every facet of your life, you will see the evidence of him in every place and space in your life. He
mm,
tells us all the time, Miss Helen, Matthew 6:33, seeking first the kingdom, and everything else will be added unto you. Don't worry about tomorrow. It's enough troubles in tomorrow.
mm,
Be concerned, take care of today, and allow him to even order your steps and your stops, so you don't find yourself being frustrated for free, being angry, being annoyed, and find yourself trying to put substitutes in the substance of a God-sized void.
mm, mm, mm. Christine,
Yes, ma'am.
social media, website. Tell us how can people get in contact with you?
That is all forthcoming. It is going to be prayerfully within the next 60 to 90 days.
Okay.
I am working aggressively to get all that done.
Okay.
As it stands, you are welcome to go to my Facebook page. And there is a link that can connect you over to Inspiring Life. All of that is getting ready to get updated as we speak, just because I know that there are other opportunities that present themselves, and I want people to be able to reach me. In the interim, they're welcome to contact me by dialing 423-488-1208. That number again is 423-488-1208, or email inspiring life at live or live is spelled the same way, live.com. Inspiring life at live.com.
Christine, you have been just, this has been over and above what I imagine. Um, the idea of having you here for the in the month of March, which is a very special month for me, and then us as Women History Month. My anniversary month, my first full year in this podcast space, and us just getting the chance just to have this conversation. And I want our listeners and viewers to download this episode, like it, subscribe, listen to it, share it, because somebody is going to be blessed. I already know that you were blessed by listening to Christine, and you notice that I did everything I could to not say that much and just let you have your way, and you just took over and did exactly what I anticipated you would do. So, Christine, as we wrap up, is there anything else that you would like? When you think about reset to reinvent, we think about the fact that we like to provide inspiration and guidance and actionable strategies for women who have gone through some stuff. Is there anything else that maybe you haven't said, or some of those pearls of zingers? You're good at zingers. You know what? If you haven't already done this, I believe you should write, have a inspiring life ministries zingers or one liners or nuggets or inspiration, because you've got a lot of them. You just throw them out and you don't even realize it, and it's just enough for the person to say, oh wow, yeah, yeah, kind of like an inspirational devotional, but not a whole paragraph, but just a sentence or two. I think you should do that.
Yes, ma'am. And thank you for the affirmation, because that too is in the work. So yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
See?
That's a
All
part
right.
of the forthcoming tools and gems, as I call it,
All right.
to
There
be
you
able
go.
to
Yes.
get it
Yes.
going. So thank you, thank you. If I could leave anything with your listeners, Miss Helen, is three key things. Number one, um, ask the Lord. And I say this from a firsthand experience, because one of the dangers of reading the Bible in a year is not gaining the wisdom that comes from it.
Mm,
In all you're getting, get understanding. When the Lord navigates your direction, He already knows where you are in Him. So who better to bring you closer to Him? Because the word tells us it's with loving kindness have I drawn thee, right? And so in asking, ask the Lord to give you key foundational scriptures that are your staples, if you will,
mm,
one for each foot, so you don't become wobbly in the faith,
mm,
one for each hand, so you can hold on righteously in what He tells you to do, one for each ear, so you could tune out the noise to properly hear His sound, one for each eye. So therefore, your focus will be maintained on bringing him glory and not just running to try to tell your story. That's one. Two,
So that's
have
8.
the
That's a total of 8 scriptural foundational. I was
yes, ma'am.
counting. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. And
Okay.
eight, and spiritually speaking, eight is the number for new beginnings.
Yes, it
And
is.
so,
My favorite number.
yes, ma'am. Likewise, likewise. And so the beauty of the other key is having a good, real village, somebody that you can have four elements with. One that knows how to hold you up,
Mm,
one that isn't going to hold you back,
mm,
one that's going to be able to walk properly with you, and one that's going to be able to hold you accountable when needed.
mm,
We love to have the ones that knows how to hold us up. We even love the ones greater that knows how to make sure they don't hold us back. But the accountability and the ones that can walk and hold their own while they're walking with you, those are the ones we look side on.
right.
That's the danger of having a form of godliness with no power. Because the closer you get to God, the more humble you become. You should become sweeter the closer you get to God, not more venomous, not more manipulative, not more being deceptive in your interactions because you're
Mm,
doing things to try to make sure you have your bubbles in a tub, but you don't know how to bless anybody else for being a blessing to you. And then lastly, make sure what you do it with the light on and with the light off. Therefore, you have nothing to be embarrassed about. Therefore, you have nothing to be ashamed of. Therefore, no matter what they see, they're going to see the consistency when they see you.
Christine, I tell you what, girlfriend, woo, I'm going to listen to this episode
Yes,
over
ma'am.
and over and
I
over
appreciate
again.
you.
Oh, you are just amazing. And I'm really excited because I'm going to see you soon
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
here
ma'am.
in Augusta. I look forward to that. We're definitely going to talk more between now and then. But, for our listeners and viewers, Reset to Reinvent podcast, folks, tribe, family, I know that you were blessed with today's episode. And once again, Christine, thank you so much. Hold it down there in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and folks, I want you to make sure that you've got to download this episode. I need you to share it. I need you to like it. I need you to listen to it over and over and over again. And the next time after you listen to it, get your Bible and have all, because this was like a Bible. This was like a Bible. That's why I'm going to listen to it over and over again so that I can go in and when she said that I'm getting ready to do a Hezekiah, and I'm like, okay, what is she talking about? And then she threw some stuff out there, y'all, and that's all I can say. So we definitely need to get back and listen to this again. But just amazing. Just I love you, girlfriend. You take care of yourself and you continue to be well. And I just can't wait to see what else God has for you. I just know He has some super 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 things prepared for you, and it's just a matter of you just continue to walk in it. And so, for my family out there, you guys have yourself a wonderful week. And the reason I want you to have a wonderful week is because you deserve to be inspired.
Today's episode of Reset to Reinvent podcast is brought to you by the Adams Group Agency, developing final expense leaders.